So a few winters ago, I spent about 10 days cycle touring in the Canary Islands, starting in Lanzarote before going to Fuerteventura and then to Tenerife. So in this video, I just wanted to share 5 of the things that I learned while cycle touring in the Canary Islands. So I went to the Canaries in winter, which I actually think is a great time to go. Although you might run into some snow or blizzards up in the highest mountains, and it can get a little cold at night, even at lower altitudes, overall the temperatures are really comfortable. For example, in Lanzarote in January, which is the coldest month, you get lows of 14 degrees at night and highs of 22 degrees during the day, which is warmer than anywhere in continental Europe at the same time of year. However, perhaps with the exception of midsummer when daytime temperatures can get up to 30 degrees, I don't think there's really a bad time to go for a bike ride in the Canaries. Although the Canary Islands do have some large, busy roads, with some common sense route planning, it's very easy to avoid these and to find some quiet routes that really allow you to immerse yourself in all of the island's amazing landscapes. When I was there, I had a great time riding paths through the deserts of Lanzarote, cliff-top tracks with views of isolated beaches in Fuerteventura, and remote hiking trails on the pine-covered mountains of Tenerife. Of course, if you prefer to stick to the road, this is very much possible as well. To plan my routes, I often use an app like Komoot, which can recommend routes based on the type of bike you're using and the type of terrain that you prefer. This way, whether you feel like an easy day on paved country roads or more of a challenge on a track up in the mountains, you can plan a route that's just right for you. Related to the last point, even though the Canary Islands have lots of tourist hotspots such as Corralejo on Fuerteventura and Playa de las Americas in Tenerife, and even though the islands are quite small, you can easily end up feeling like you're in the middle of nowhere, which, depending on your preferences, may or may not be a good thing. Personally, I love being in places that feel like the edge of the world. So when I was in the Canaries, I always headed straight for the most empty-looking parts of the map. And because of the difficult routes that I took, I was often hours from the nearest road, even if it was only 5 or 10 kilometers away. Of course, this meant I had to be conscious of carrying enough to eat and drink, especially since many of the villages aren't going to have shops that are open at all hours of the day. Nevertheless, if you're not a weird introvert like me and you don't want to drag your bike over rocks to the most desolate parts of the island just so you can be alone, it's not at all hard to plan a route that goes through lots of small towns so that whatever you might need is always within easy reach. Often during bike trips, one of the most fun parts of my day is figuring out where I'm going to sleep. And at the Canary Islands, I came across loads of great options. For example, on Lanzarote one night, I climbed to the top of a hill and got set up beside a modest pile of rocks while admiring the sun setting over the vast Atlantic. On Fuerteventura, I spent the evening on the edge of a cliff, sipping on beer and cooking pasta as I watched locals surfing in the dark blue water below. And when making my way along a remote mountain track on Tenerife, just as it began to rain, I came across a small man-made cave, which I climbed into to escape the weather and spent the evening watching the pine trees outside being blown about by the cold, wet wind. Of course, if you prefer to just stay at a campsite or in a hotel, there's absolutely no shortage of these. So the costs associated with getting to and between the Canary Islands are obviously going to vary depending on a number of factors, but I'll just share with you how much I paid so that you have a rough idea of how much it might cost you. So I flew with Vueling Airlines from Barcelona, which is where I live, to Lanzarote, and I paid 68 euros for the flight itself, 15 euros for a cabin bag, and 50 euros to take my bike. When going home, I flew from Tenerife to Barcelona and I paid 63 euros for the flight, and again 15 euros for a cabin bag and 50 euros for my bike. So in total I paid about 260 euros for both of my flights. To get between the islands, I took a couple of ferries. The first was from the south of Lanzarote to the north of Fuerteventura, which only took 25 minutes and was about 37 euros. The second was from the south of Fuerteventura to the north of Tenerife, which involved a stop in Gran Canaria. This trip took about 5 hours and cost me 126 euros. With both of these ferries, I didn't pay any extra for my bike and there was no need to dismantle it in any way. I especially enjoyed the longer crossing to Tenerife, which gave me a chance to admire the islands from afar, as well as relax after several days riding in the sun and sleeping in the dirt. So those are some of the things that I learned while riding my bike in the Canary Islands. If you've also ridden there, I'd love to hear about the things that you learned. If you're thinking about riding there and you have some questions, feel free to leave them in a comment and I'll try to get back to you. If you do go, I hope you have an amazing time. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.